Welcome to another edition of the Red Pill Diaries. We're having technical difficulties again, trying to get everything running. You know how they play with stuff behind the scenes. So we want to apologize for starting late. We were actually on our job trying to start ahead of time. We've been in the studio for about 45 minutes, okay, for those of you who are listening. And those of you who will listen, we've been in the studio for about 45 minutes prior to the show even starting. All right. But we've been having technical difficulties where they're shutting down the mic, they're shutting down the cameras. We're getting disconnected. So I want to apologize for those of you who are listening. I just got a message from Culture Freedom. He said he'll need 10 minutes to try to get on. So we'll talk and we'll dialogue while this is going on. I just want to thank you all for having an understanding of what's going on, because not only do we have this problem on our new platform, which is the Red Pill Diaries, but we've had it for almost 12 years on the Star and Crescent Report over on Blog Talk Radio. So you can go to blogtalkradio.com/Hiram1555 and you can check out nearly 2,000 shows from 2008 or 2009 upwards until today. Okay. We also are going to have a lot of new material for the premium, for the Patreon. We have a special guest coming on Tuesday evening. And this guy, he's world renowned. He's also an anthropologist, and he also is a geostrategist and geopolitical analyst. And he'll be on the Red Pill Diaries, but that will be exclusively for the Patreon. We offer Patreon for $3, $5, and $12. Just to support the movement for truth. Okay. But this show today, we're going to try to have Kerry Culture Freedom Williams on from the legendary hip hop group Poor Righteous Teachers. As soon as he's able to come on, I'll let you know. As soon as he arrives in the studio, I'll be watching the studio pics so that I can bring him immediately on so that we can get into our discussion today. But until then, brothers and sisters, you just rock with your brother, okay? You just rock with me. For those of you who have not subscribed, go over to the Hiram's 1555 blog. That's HIRAM 1555 blog and subscribe. It's free. You get all the updated news, period. Now, if you want to become a premium member, you can become a premium member. But and when I talk about the premium membership, it goes into a lot of stuff that you don't get in the news. And I mean, you get breaking stuff from my sources in the Middle East, Asia, Europe, South and Central America, stuff that you don't get on the news. And sometimes you may get it on the news, but you may get it weeks after and not with the in-depth analysis that we give to you on that. This also comes over on the Patreon also. So you can go over to patreon.com/The Red Pill Diaries, all one word, and sign up for $3 or $5 or $12, whichever one you want. And also subscribe to us on YouTube. We'll really appreciate that. Now, my discussion with Mr. Kerry Williams, I want to bring up some things to him when he arrives. I want to bring up the difference between hip hop in the late 80s, early 90s, and then it's I wouldn't say progression, I would say devolution from that point on onwards up to today. Like back then, there was a lot of substance in hip hop, you know, about knowledge of self, empowerment, liberation, being black and proud, and how it switched to hold this, hold that. I got $1 million. I'm gonna kill you. I'll cap you, nigga this, nigga that. I hate this and I hate that. And you notice in the music of the day, they never address the demons or the 12,000-pound gorilla in the closet. It's always, nigga, if I see you, nigga, I hate you, nigga this, and nigga this, I'll kill a nigga, won't sweat it. I'll kill a nigga, I'll do this, I'll run up on the family, I'll kill everybody in the whole house. You know, they don't say, and I'm not advocating. Listen to me good. I am not advocating murder. I am not advocating violence. I am not advocating gunning down people. But what I'm saying is, if you are to do those things, why would you do those things to a person that looks like you? That a person that's in your community that's suffering just like you. a person that has been through similar experiences, right? And has a culture just like you, why would you eye them with the same hatred, animosity, vitriol, and nastiness that your oppressors view you and him as? Because you know, if you kill me, right, and you survive, you've just helped them eliminate two birds with one stone. You go to prison, right? And I'm in the grave. Is that not right? So some people say, well, it's just music. Yeah, but this music today has the hearts and the minds of the people. And the youth imitate this stuff. And there's a saying that you are what you eat, spiritually and as well as physically, right? So if you consume violent gangster movies all day, right? And if you consume violence in your music all day, and some people listen to that from the start, from when they get up in the morning, because in my neighborhood, and I live in a county area, which is different from living in a city, but still you can hear these people bumping their music when they're coming up through the county, bumping the music sky high, 7 o'clock in the morning. So if they're starting off their day, if their mental and spiritual diet starts off with that type of music, 5 and 6 and 7 o'clock in the morning, right? And they continue that on until they close their eyes. The first thing on their mind, right, is that music and the message of the music. And guess what? The last thing on their mind is the message of the music. Do you not know that there was a scientific study talking about how we are trained mentally when you go to sleep with something on your mind, and this is what you go to sleep with constantly. Do you know that you can bring those things into fruition, into reality? Do you know that? Subliminally, even while you're asleep. As a matter of fact, when you're asleep, it's the most dangerous time, because your mind starts to duplicate and replicate and envision it more with more focus. The last thing that you hear and the last thing that you see. That's why if you listen to Les Brown, who is a magnificent motivational speaker and orator, he's a magnificent one. If you listen to him, he often tells you that when you wake up, within the first 30 minutes, have positive vibes, have positive vibes and focus on positive things, right? And also to feed your mind positive affirmations. And before you lay down and go to sleep, especially then, do the same thing. Why? Because your mind is a powerful thing. And if you're talking about killing, even if you're not the person, even if that's not your music, but if that is what you consume constantly, you can bring about, unwittingly and unknowingly, you can bring about a vicious cycle of violence around you and your loved ones. This is real. This is scientifically proven. So I want to talk to him about what happened to the consciousness in rap, in hip hop. What happened to the happy feeling? And I'm not saying that back then all of the music was like that. I'm saying that in this day and time, a lot of the music is like that. This is what I'm saying. And he just sent me a message. He's setting up his desktop right now. So I know I just got a beep. So he's telling me he's setting up his desktop right now. He'll be in the lab, in the studio shortly. Okay, so bear with me. But think about this. Back in the days, there was in rap, you aspired to be lyrically more proficient than the other person. You aspire to awaken consciousness in your people. And think about today, 20, 30 years on. And I also want to ask him about the powers that be and how they have allowed this and purposefully push this agenda of violence and especially now. Notice this. I want to bring this to you. I want to bring this to your attention. Do you remember that for some of you who maybe a little older, maybe over your 30s or whatever? Do you remember when Ice-T, the rapper who turned actor, do you remember when he came out with a song Cop Killer? Do you remember the outrage that society met that song with? It was on 24-hour nonstop newscasts denunciating and demonizing that song for hatred towards police officers and inciting violence towards police officers. But you don't hear that same passion, that same vigor in the news and in these so-called police organizations about the stuff when the music, instead of putting, I'll kill the police, I'll shoot that cop, I'll do that pig like that. Instead, you put in the, you change the words out. F that nigga. I hate that nigga. When I see that nigga, it's nigga this and nigga that, and I'm gonna kill nigga this. And do you notice that they let that slide? You don't hear the uprising, the same uprising that you heard when Cop Killer came out. All right. You don't hear the denunciation like you heard. You hear some of it, but you don't hear it in the manner that you heard when that song came out. You don't. Because as long as it's confined to me killing you, we're doing society a favor in their minds. And so music has devolved and degenerated to such a degree. Think about this. And I just want to, sometimes when I'm talking to you, sometimes something hits me and I have to just say, stop, pause for a second and just think about this. I want to show you the level to which the culture has devolved because of the music and because of the atmosphere that is pervasive over the urban or the inner city. In the 90s, in the 80s, early 90s, and most of the 80s, the women, if you would call a woman a female name, out her name, the female dog, if you would call her that, you had to scrap, you know. But that is the norm of the day, okay? That's the norm. Also, look at the women pictures back then. When you looked at the woman, you looked at her and you admired her beauty, but you also wanted a woman with sense, with smarts, right? Because you know that an enlightened woman naturally will elevate you. But today, not only do the men denigrate the women by calling them female dogs constantly in their music and in the movies, right? But the women have now lowered themselves to a position of being, what would I say, sexualized by the first thing that they put before you is their butt. When they take pictures, they don't take it smiling most of the time. They take it showing their figure. This is what I want to get to. And so we have our good brother, and I'm going to bring him on the screen because I got to bring him on. I'm telling you, this is a legend in hip hop. One of my favorite groups of all time. Oh, I'm telling you, all time. This is why I had to reach out to them. I think they were underrated. I think they were, and especially my favorite album of all time was Pure Poverty. That was my joint right there, Pure Poverty. I'm going to bring in the good brother, Poor Righteous Teacher. How you doing, brother?
What's up, my brother? Hey, first of all, man, let me apologize for the little tardiness that I had, man. I'm almost like 100% never tardy. I'm always on point. And, I just had to get things set up, a little differently, man. But I want to apologize to you and all your guests and just say peace, man. I'm doing good and I'm glad to be on your show.
I'm happy to have you, God. I was talking to the people and I wanted to bring some issues up. I wanted to ask you, what is the major difference between, like I said, when you were out, which you guys aspire to enlighten our people, and the generation of the music today, when it's nigga this and I'll kill a nigga that, and the emphasis on materialism as a form of self-worthiness. Could you speak on that?
I believe that, it's a combination of a few things. One is basically we were raised different. You know what I mean? We were raised by parents who, fundamentally wanted to change the landscape of how black people were perceived in society because they were just coming out of Jim Crow and all those type things. So one thing they didn't want to do is to make us look like savages. You know what I mean? They wanted to let people know that, we were human beings. We were thinkers. We were capable of doing things like anybody else. Not like they didn't know that because of the bondage they put us in, but we definitely didn't want to represent that as a whole. So the whole thing was about, changing the perspective of who black people were and what we was about. So, it was unpopular and uncool to be out on the street, with your pants below your backside or being disrespectful to adults. It was yes, sir, no, sir. If you was called in the wrong, because we did our wrong, but if you was called in the wrong, you would quickly correct yourself. And, the whole ideal that it takes a village to raise a child was in full effect. I mean, your neighbor next door, if she caught you doing something wrong, she could snatch you up and take you to your parents and say, look, this is what I caught him doing. And your parents know Miss Maddie or whatever her name was, and she wasn't lying, and they would straighten you out. So it was just one aspect is how we would, how we were being raised. Another thing is we didn't trust the system as much as we, trust the system now, because we know, with Jim Crow and all of that, it was a system that was designed to make us look a certain type of way, on sight. They made it being black a curse, and they associated a lot of negativity with it. So we didn't trust the media. So when we got in front of the media, we were very careful about how we presented ourselves. You know what I mean? Because I'm a 70s baby. So I came right out of the, the Vietnam War and all those other things. So we was careful. If your parents seen you on TV looking a certain way, say, don't you ever go in front of TV looking like this or doing that. We were very careful about how we presented ourselves to the public. And I think it carried on to my generation. But then once we started getting, in the mix of things and starting to be acknowledged for what we was doing, I think we got a little laxed in how we allowed ourselves to be presented on the screen and on radio, because I remember artists said, man, play this and say it like I said it, because the magazine edit could get your butt beheaded. So it was very serious that hey man, this is what I said, this is how I want to be represented, and don't go changing anything, because we knew how crucial it was to the young people who was looking at us and who was coming after us. So if we did certain actions, then we were held accountable for it. I remember one day in an interview, man, in the newspaper, they was like, man, where'd you graduate from? And we was like, SWU. And she was like, SWU, yeah, Sidewalk University. And man, immediately, like I was out to eat that next day, and immediately a sister in the neighborhood, she was like, Culture, I love you, right? I was like, yeah. She said, but don't do that again. She was like, listen, man, as young people looking at y'all, they admire y'all. And now, you know what? I just took that. I said, and I knew who it was coming from, and I said, bet. Never said that again, man. And it wasn't a question of, oh, you hating on me or nothing like that. It was just that, it was each one teach one. We held each other accountable for how we looked and how we appeared in our community. And it was very important, back then, the most important article of clothing was a HBCU, t-shirt or a hat or whatever, the whole thing with Spike Lee, a young black filmmaker, the movies he was making, Do the Right Thing, all these different films, man, brought about some type of pride about us moving forward as a people collectively, not as individuals, but moving together collectively. And it was a lot more groups out then, it was a group effort, like Public Enemy, BDP, even though KRS appeared to be a solo, it was still BDP, it was still Boogie Down Productions, it was still Public Enemy, even though Chuck Lee led. So you had, people there to hold you accountable. And I just think now, your brother stepping to you, man, and trying to pull your, your coattails and tell you, hey, man, listen, let us try to, present ourselves a little differently. Everybody has the attitude like, hey, man, it's me. I'm doing me. Do you? And it's cool because you making it as an individual, but then you got to look at the damage you might be doing to the younger generation coming up. So it was just a different mindset during that time. Now I will say this: we understand that finance is very important,
Mm-hmm.
and it takes finance in order to support a revolution, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it seemed like we got the money thing down. We learned the money thing. The younger generation, they
Mm-hmm.
learned how, hey man, listen, we got to get this paper, we got to establish this and that and that. But the love and reverence for one another, and just the bond that we had kind of fall apart, man. And it says that the love of money is the root of all evil,
Mm-hmm.
not getting money, but
Mm-hmm.
the love of it. And it
Mm-hmm.
just seems like, when you love material items and you love money, it's going to manifest in your words, your ways, and your actions. And I believe that's what we're seeing is all about money, power, respect. The Scarface, syndrome. First you get the money, then you get the power. Before with us, it was first you get the knowledge.
Yeah. Yes.
You see what I'm saying? Then you get the other stuff. And so the knowledge was the foundation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So once you got the money, you could properly apply it by using your wisdom. So, and then you'll gain the understanding that you're looking for, and then you'll be satisfied with the outcome. But now I could tell, man, and I don't think that these young folks are proud of what they see. It's just the fact that they need some leadership, some leadership to show them, hey man, listen, this is what you're going to get out of this. Let me scoop you up, let me treat you like a little brother, a son or something like that, instead of another person that's badgering you and trying to beat you down and tell you everything you're doing wrong. But let me just give you a point of reference so you can elevate and build from. So I think we need more of that type of, that mentorship, from the older brothers in the community, like we had it, to say, hey man, listen, go to school, get an education, or make a way for yourself, learn a skill. If you don't want to go to college, learn a skill. Just put something away for a rainy day. We used to hear stuff like that. When the money stopped, because there's an inflow, and then there's things when it shut off, and when it shut off, and when the system is done with you, you got to be able to keep going and keep building. So I just think it's a combination of syndromes. I don't think it's just one thing, but it's a combination of it, man. And we got to do our part to keep the main thing the main thing. We got to do our part to keep the foundation the foundation. And there's young people out there that's listening. All young people ain't out there messing up and acting up, in hip hop. There's those that are trying to do the right thing, but they're not getting the exposure that they need. It's not a balance like it was back then when we was doing it, because I remember us doing a tour with Ice Cube, Too Short, Ghetto Boys, Poor Righteous Teachers. Everybody was there, and everybody's voice was being heard in the struggle. And it was like, listen, this is my experience, and this is what I'm going through. And then since we had knowledge of self, of course, we're going to use that as our foundation in our lyrics and what we're doing. So we're going to teach that. But Public Enemy was able to do songs with Ice Cube.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we were able to collaborate in that kind of way. And during that collaboration, we was able to share knowledge with one another, and we was able to see, what, the brothers out west, they ain't much different than the brothers, in the north, and the brothers in the south, they not much different than, us. And we was able to see that we have a common interest and we have a common goal. And that's to change our situation here in the wilderness of North America.
Yeah.
So we was able to bond like that, man. And I just don't like the division and the divisiveness that the industry itself keeps, perpetuating, because you can't be a real boss, right? If you're going through all of this, because you can't be a thug out there in the street and then claim to have a music career at the same time. The two don't go together, man. Right. It's because you're too busy watching your back, trying to protect whatever to be able to work your career. And one of the first things I was hit with was like, listen, man, do you want to work your career or do you want to work your ego? It said, because your ego, it's gonna get you in all kind of trouble. You ain't gonna be able to satisfy your ego, man. You're gonna have to keep feeding that thing, and you're gonna be running around getting into all kind of stuff. If you want to work your career, this is how you do it, man. Respect the people that's buying your records. Respect the people that's in the same industry that you in. You know what I'm saying? And be grateful for the opportunity that you were presented with and make the most out of it. You know what I'm saying? And work at your craft. Don't be out here, man, your swagger on full blast and it's all about this and I'm this, I'm better than you and I got this. At the end of the day, that's going to create envy. That's going to create jealousy. That's going to create all those type of things. You want to build a reality that you can't live in. You know what I'm saying? That you got to constantly watch your back. So I just think it's just that kind of thing, man. It's so many things. But like I said, platforms like yours who give young people a chance to see brothers like myself, get out there and speak to them and give them that real knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Along with the other stuff that they're getting, then they're able to make a choice. They're able to say, hey, listen, I tried that and this is what I got. What else do I have? So it gives them an option to say, hey, man, listen, I can go this way, that way, but I still can end up in a positive place if I just take heed to these instructions, So just thank you once again. And we just got to keep providing opportunities, man, for young people to strive and do better, man, and encouraging them, man, encouraging them to stay alive, man, and grow old,
Hey, and something to show you how much of a poor righteous teacher's head I am. When you were talking a few seconds ago and you were like, the knowledge is the foundation. I'm like, man, this pure poverty right here. That's the
yeah.
So and before I go into another question, I gotta share something with you. So I'm coming in the house a few days ago and I hear my TV surround sound system and I'm hearing just serving justice and all that. I'm hearing this. My 14-year-old daughter, she was up in there just blasting poor righteous teachers, man. I was like, wow, because she loved it. She said, Dad, this is what you always listen to. So, but I had to share that with you. But I just want to say, do you think that it is a concerted effort by those in power to try to keep, we know to make money, but to keep a lot of stress and tension going on in the Black community so that they can profit off of it? And also, what do you say about this like Illuminati in music or whatever?
Well, the thing of it is, divide and conquer, right? Some people are divided just waiting to be conquered, right? So, if you put that in the mix, because what you got to think about, it's the people that's creating this music and this art form and all of that should be seeing the most profit from, right? We should be like, from the very conception, there's always been an effort on the side of the powers that be to kind of divide and control and manipulate the situation, because they fed our parents, that's garbage. It's a fad. It's not going to stick around. That's what they were putting out in the media. Even my art teacher, man, told me one day, he said, man, that hip hop thing, it ain't going nowhere. It's just like beatboxing. It's just going to fade away. And for a minute there, he lost me. You know what I mean? Because my thing was like, man, I'm in art class. You obviously you gotta respect art. You know what I'm saying? Like it's your interpretation, is how you see the world, is your view of the world. And art is subjective, man. You know what I'm saying? It's all about taste. So, you saying that, kind of turned me off a little bit, but I realized that was a part of the plot by the system to turn our parents and our elders away from what we was doing, instead of taking a look at it and saying, hey man, this thing could possibly go somewhere. I mean, it's groovy. It got a beat to it. It's not a throwaway. So what happens is they stop looking at it, during that time in the early 80s, and they it was a bastardized form of music, right? So then you fast forward years later, now all the guys who own the record labels and all of these things are folks from a different community, and they're making billions of dollars, which is enabling them to buy more businesses, to buy more land, to more real estate, to build more homes, to do all these things. And these are resources and funds that could have been funneled into the Black community to help build our community, because we have a wealth of talent. Yes. We have a wealth of skill. We have a wealth of knowledge. There's no secret. During slavery, we were creating all type of things like, like Hennessy, You know what I mean? Or I mean, Jack Daniels is what I
Yeah.
meant to say.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, a black man, that's a black man's recipe. You
Yep.
know, Kentucky Fried Chicken, that's a
Yep.
black woman's recipe. You know, all of these things that we create, you know, we wasn't allowed to own because whatever we created belonged to the slave master. Right. So that has always been the mentality that if we had anything that was worth anything, they were coming from it, coming for it. Rather, if it was gold, diamonds, oil, whatever it is, if we anything of substance, you know, even our melanin in our skin is worth more than gold on the stock market. I mean, it's worth an ounce of melanin is worth more than gold. So all of these things are worth something. So they're going to come for it. You know what I mean? Because the whole goal is to capitalize on the world resources. And you got to think about it, just like in, you know, if we're going to use scripture for a reference, you know, that's why Pharaoh did not want to let the Israelites go, because he realized that his economy depended on the Israelites being in bondage because they were making bricks. They were doing all these things. So the whole thing is, if I know that you're a resource, right? My whole thing is I'm going to control you. If I control you, then I control the resources that you produce, everything that you own, the land that you stand on, and everything. So, of course, there's a plot and a plan to control and manipulate the art form, because if we have that kind of power, you see, the thing is to be empowered. Once we are empowered, we can control our own destiny. You know what I'm saying? It's the basic rules of pimping. You know, I'm going to keep you clean. I'm going to keep you looking good, but you're not getting no money. You know, you ain't getting enough money to where you can go do your old thing and you don't need me anymore. So they're going to feed you just enough. You know, I'm going to give you some gold chains and all that so you can look good. I'm going to get you a little car. You know, that was typical even back in the 60s. You know, you get a brand new car, you sign a record deal and all that. But after that, you're going to look successful to all your friends. So you're going to go get them and say, hey, man, well, we need to come over there because, look, obviously they looking good. They taking care of them over there. So now you got all your buddies fighting to get in bondage, you know, because they think you got it. So, you know, it's a game. It's how it's done, and it's crouched in language, you know, language that you don't understand. You know, this is why Christ told him that, you know, you're a liar and the truth is not in you. He said your father was a liar, right? He said when he lied, he's speaking his own language. So we know that it's all in those contracts and it's all in that coded in that language, that the plan is for you to get very little and for them to get the lion's share. You know what I'm saying? And then at the same time, you know, if you look in the media, you know who P. Diddy is. The average person kid know who 50 Cent is, but they don't know who the president of Sony Records is.
Right.
He could walk right down the street and the average young person won't even know who that is. They won't know unless they see him pull up inside a big fancy car or he got mad security around him. They're like, well, who's that? Then they asking people. But the point I'm trying to make is that these folks are able to escape a lot of the envy, the hate, the jealousy, and all of that stuff that a lot of these top celebrities have to deal with on a daily basis. And they're only getting a fraction of what a lot of these major companies are getting. But we look at them and say, well, they're successful. They have all the money. So then you become an op. You know what I mean? But then the thing of it is that we don't know the people that's getting the real share. You just getting a deal. But they're getting the major portion of it, you know, and Michael Jackson tried to expose it.
Yes.
You know, Prince tried to expose it. You know what I'm saying? He, you know, he wrote slave on his face, you know, all of these things. And he referred to, I just was checking out the other day where I heard he called himself the artist because that's the title that you have on your contract. Your name is the artist. And people didn't know why because he said, listen, if I'm just an artist, that's what my name is going to be. The artist, formerly known as, because why? They own that name. See, in those contracts, they got that link. I own your likeness, your name. So if you try to do anything outside of that, they basically own you. And that's, you hear when you're a child, don't sell your soul. And what is your soul comprised of? Your mind, will, intellect, imaginations, and emotions. Right? So these are the things that we use to express ourselves creatively. So if I control your soul, I control your creativity, your mind, your intellect, your emotions, your likeness. I own all of that stuff. So now what are you? You a shell. You're
Mm-hmm.
basically a shell. So now I control everything you do. So say for instance, before you sell your soul, you out here and you writing music. And whatever you think of, and you say, man, I don't want to say that. Nah, I don't want to say that. You etch that or you do that. Now there's pressure. I gotta sell these records. If they I gotta get the people what they want. But
Mm-hmm.
really, in reality, you giving a label what they want because you're trying to keep them happy with record sales so you don't lose your job. You
Mm-hmm.
see what I'm saying? So they're controlling all that. They have input. Once you get sponsors and all that, guess what? If the sponsor's not happy with what you're saying and doing, then you're gone. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, just like what our brother Nick Cannon went through, I think
Yeah.
he forgot who he was being sponsored by. Come on now. This is why Christ went through that. He said, listen, bow down to me. The
Mm-hmm.
devil told him, bow down to me, serve me, and I'll give you everything you see. I need your influence. See, that's a gift. That's another resource. That's another gift that, us as a people, we have that flair, you know what I mean? That
Mm-hmm.
attractiveness that
Yeah.
attract people, that magnetic, right? We learned that we had a magnetic
Yeah.
attraction.
That's
So
right.
it's because of that magnetic, we say you can draw thousands of people in to hear what you say and to listen to you. What's your next move? Like Tupac, he had that aura, he had that magnetic to where it's like now you look at rap, this versus thing that they're doing with the two artists. The last one between Jeezy and Gucci, it attracted more people than all of these award shows. I mean, it's like 9 million people tuned in to watch these brothers play their music and go back and forth and play their classics. So that lets you know that people are into what we're doing and they're watching what we're doing. And if they see it, then it's like, okay, listen, let me put my stamp on that. And then you got to watch the contract because some contracts they have say so. Don't do that. If you do this, don't do that. If you do that, I'm not associated with you. If you do that, so I believe that as far as the Illuminati in music, I never personally been approached by anybody, and I never seen with my own eyes somebody like saying, "Hey, listen, sign with me, and you're going to be a part of this secret society" or nothing like that. But I will say that, some things are unsaid. You know what I mean? Some things
Mm-hmm.
are unspoke of. You know that, hey, listen, if I say this meal is going to be pulled from me. This. You've seen things get pulled from under people once they spoke out about
Right.
certain issues.
Right.
So one thing I'm glad about us is that we came in saying everything that we were saying. So,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I mean, we were asked, hey, listen, is this really y'all? Is this really what you about? Do y'all really believe what y'all saying? Because I need to know how to promote you. And I believe what they were saying is once we help build this image of y'all out there, that y'all are the poor righteous teachers and this, that, and that, y'all can't go flipping and being somebody else. You know what I'm saying? We once we do what we do and we use our machine to promote this thing, you can't go jumping being something else. You
Mm-hmm.
see what I'm saying? Because now their interest is not protected. Like they was asking Christ, they were saying, listen, are you the king? Are you a king of the Jews? Are you this deliverer? They want to know
Yeah.
what's your agenda? And
Yeah.
do you affirm what we doing? So I think at the end of the day, it comes down to that. Now, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know what another person experience might have been, but I personally haven't seen anybody, sacrificing anything, drinking blood. You know what I mean? I probably would have flipped. I mean, knowing me, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? If those
Yeah.
street tactics would have came in like, like sacrificing a baby or something like that. I'm oh no, I probably would have wowed out on them. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But I never seen it, my brother. You know what I'm saying? But you hear all kind of things about it. One thing I do is I don't write people off as being crazy or discrediting anybody because the truth is stranger than fiction.
Yeah.
And sometimes people do be going through stuff like that, man. But I believe, just like they choose talented people to endorse what they do, I think they kind of read personalities and they
Mm.
kind of know if could he be played like that? If they know you love money and you'll do anything for a dollar and you living like that, then they probably say, well, that's a prime candidate for what we trying to do, because that person has no limit to what they'll do to get a buck. So they might get approached like that. You know what I mean? But if you the type to expose the devil, I don't think the devil is going to be trying to be like, hey, man, look what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I just believe certain individuals might get approached in that way, but I have no knowledge, man. Those who know don't tell, and those who tell don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I haven't seen it, my brother, but I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it.
Well, how did you guys specifically, poor righteous teachers, with the message that you guys were dropping, because it was like mind-boggling that they allowed you guys to come out and speak the way you were speaking. I'm saying you guys are trendsetters, and you don't get enough credit for setting that trend. And how did they allow you guys to come out? And then how were you guys able to have such longevity and drop jewels, especially my favorite album, one of my favorite albums of all time, which is Pure Poverty?
Well, I believe, groups like Public Enemy, Rakim and Eric B, King's Son,
yeah,
and and the Supreme Team,
yeah,
and stuff like that, who was, they was in the game doing, kicking knowledge and all that stuff before we was, but not as blatant as we were, but they was doing it. I think they kind of laid the groundwork to show that, it can be made a profit off of it. And one thing we know is that, the industry love money. You know what I mean? So you could be saying anything under the sun, but if it's profitable, then they got to think like, hey man, listen, what could they do to us? You know what I'm saying? What can they do with us? We got our finger on the button. They saying this stuff, but in reality, they can say whatever they want. We still seeing the profit from it. You know what I'm saying? It's not until they get a phone call saying, okay, man, listen, these guys are saying this and saying that, like the situation that took place with Professor Griff in PE, where he got suspended for comments he made, on the radio. I mean, that's public knowledge, so I think that, we were saying things to uplift Black people, keep us out of jail, you know what I'm saying? Keep us from fighting one another and doing all those things, you know what I mean? And how could you really knock a message like that? You know what I mean? Because we said we were combined with two kinds of rhyme trying to reach it. The knowledge of myself makes me a poor righteous teacher. So we was like smooth with the roughness. So we were keeping people dancing and doing all of that and then teaching at the same time. I believe if it was more militant in the sense where we didn't have songs where you can dance to and have fun and didn't come across, in a way that was, I ain't gonna say non-threatening, but we came across in a way like, okay, we understand that this is a business, but at the same time, this is what we gonna say. So, like I said, groups like Public Enemy and them, they already proved that it could sell. So certain labels start looking for somebody who was similar, with a similar message, with a similar vibe. You know what I mean? And they didn't tell us to be who we were. We came in there like that.
Yeah.
Because these were our influences. You know what I'm saying? Like if you listen to our first single, Time to Say Peace, you hear Just Ice. You know what I mean? And Just Ice, hey, you know what I mean? And that we was listening to that. You know what I'm saying? We was listening to PE, and all of those things, man. So I think we were just a product of what we came up listening to. Our neighborhood, where I grew up at was called Divine Land because all the 5%ers and the Muslims and everybody in there, they were the controlling personality in the community, so it was quite natural that we would take that in. And then, when it came to the lyrics and stuff, we was just going to regurgitate what we ate on. You walking down the street, like I said, be like, hey, young brother, come here, let me talk to you. And then you get into a conversation with an older cat, and you get tired of not knowing nothing. You be like, okay, let me see what this word meant. You know what I mean? And Chuck D is like, like King Son said, if it wasn't for Chuck D, you wouldn't know about Farrakhan. You know what I'm saying? Because Chuck D was like, Farrakhan's a prophet, and I think you ought to listen to what he did to you. What you ought to do, follow for now. You know what the people say. We was like, whoa, you know, because it was like, we see that you don't care. So those in the community that, you know, appeared that they cared about us and was speaking to us, we was going to listen because we're trying to survive. You know what I'm saying? Back then, when I was coming up, you know, we didn't have the internet. And, you know, we didn't have like, you know, a lot of rappers didn't have the things that they were bragging about. It was things that they wanted. You know, I got a big Cadillac, something like a Seville, and written right on the side, be dressed to kill. So if you see me cruising, girl, just move a step aside. It ain't enough room to fit you all in. My riders on a first come, first serve basis. You know, Run was kicking that. We was like, man, I'm imagining like, woo, that's how I want to come through. You know what I'm saying? You know, how the ladies checking me out. And, you know, so we was dreaming. You know, we was dreaming of all these possibilities and all these things that we wanted. And the thing is, a lot of these young guys coming out now, they have everything we fought for. You know what I'm saying? So when you're in the struggle and you coming up, you realize how important it is when you get, you know, an item, an article of clothing that you wanted for a long time, you asked your parents for, you done raked the yard for, you done worked all week for, and you finally able to get it. You know, it's not about the material object, but it's about what went into it in order for you to get it. So you respect what you had to go through in order to get it. But like I said, when the foundation is already laid, the game is already here, there's money to be made. I think sometimes people lose focus if there's not somebody in there reminding you of the foundation. Like, you know, to keep the fundamentals of the game, the fundamentals. Have fun with it. That's what it was created for. Have fun with it. If you can better yourself with it, then do those things. But make sure that you don't tear it up so where the next person coming behind you, they won't have nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we used to say things like that in the raps, like, you know, ask my brother, what is he saying? He's telling black kids to learn the knowledge of themselves so that they can love themselves. You know what I mean? And that's basically what we were saying, man. Love yourself. You're not a savage. You know, you're not Gen X. You're not this. You're not that. You know, you're not whatever the media is portraying us to be, monsters. You know, you're not Central Park killers. You know, none of that stuff, man. You know, this, you know, like PE said, you know what I mean? Don't watch Channel Zero. You know, my vision ain't blurry, you know. Like we used to tell them, man, you know, I self-lord in my pen once again. You know what I mean? That you are the Lord over your pen. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you write, you the Lord of that. You know, so don't take responsibility for your creation.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? That pen is going to write whatever you want it to write. If you want to write something that bring people together, you can do that. If you want to write something that's divisive, you have control over that. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, poise yourself, you know what I'm saying, and do the knowledge. You know, think about the effect that what your words are going to have on a person, because words create our reality. So think about it, you know, what you say and when somebody's taking that in and what they getting from it. Like, you know, oh, you a gangster, you gonna kill me? Well, guess what? When you come, I'm gonna be ready for you. Y'all be ready to do anything that you want to do. You know, you thinking defensively. Now you hear that, you like, okay, I gotta come harder. You came like that. Now I'm thinking, and then a young person hearing that, you know, that fear that you're creating by those words got them walking around feeling like, you know, I gotta look over my back at all times. You know, now we looking at each other because the picture that we're painting of the enemy looks like you and me.
Yeah.
You know, it don't look like those who are behind the scenes really controlling rather if you eat or not. You know what I'm saying? Rather you're a free man or not a free man. Those who passing the laws and stuff like that. You know, like PE had the song, By the Time I Get to Arizona. You know what I'm saying? Because Arizona wasn't, you know, acknowledging Martin Luther King birthday as a national holiday. So they was like, you know, this is what's going to happen by the time I get there. We going there, we going to change that. You know, it was hip hop with a purpose. You know, on a Strictly Mash, and Wise was like, why, oh, why must I try to explain this? The left not understood because the listeners were brainless. Hang this Picture on the wall at his goal state would have been holy intellect, but most pro devils perpetrate. Hate to be neglected when we're best and out of record. I perfected. You could check it. I'm trashing. We gonna strictly mash up. And we were
But,
saying like we gonna mash up the industry until they understand the significance of what's being taught. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Like you can't neglect what's going to save the folks. If you wanted these young people to get right, then you gotta hit them with the antidote. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? You got the thesis and the antithesis. You got the Christ and you got the antichrist. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? You know what's going to free them is somebody that's able to point them in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going to free them. You can't say I want to free the young people, but then you keep hitting them with the same thing, the same
Mm-hmm.
thing. They feel like they ain't got no options. You know what I mean? Mix it up, mix the airwaves up. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that our brothers in the struggle don't deserve to be heard. I'm not saying that folks ain't out there getting killed. Yeah, we need to but we got to understand that there's a way around that. Look around you. Look at the older brothers. Look at what they're doing. There's a way around that, man. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? That money is important, but don't love money to the point to where you will sabotage your own brother for it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And these things, man, have to be instilled by people who care. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? Muhammad Ali, I just watched this thing today by Muhammad Ali. He was in an interview and he was just saying, man, that it's all about the condition of a man's heart. You know what I'm saying? If you got love in your heart, then that's what you're going to project. And that's what your environment is going to reflect.
Mm-hmm.
Everything around you is going to be, at peace. That's why we said the gods don't stop until it's time to say peace.
Mm-hmm.
We don't stop until we see peace, until we're able to live in peace, until we're
Mm-hmm.
able to dwell in peace. And peace should be the end goal. You know what I'm saying? Peace should be the end goal, because the devil thrives in chaos. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
that's
The
right.
more
That's
there's
right.
that confusion, he's running around in there, he's mixing it up. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? He's raping the women, he's taking the goods, he's doing all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So our thing is, man, peace over that. It's freedom over jail, it's heaven over hell. We got to prevail. God gotta live well in this modern day Babylon where the game is on. You gotta be real, or else you'll be freaking gone. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? We got to make those choices, man. A man is going to, know that life is about making choices, but we got to make sure that we do the knowledge and that there's proper education. Like we said, proper education is going to cause elevation. You can't elevate without proper education. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
we just say, man, that, proper education always correct errors. So we can't correct the errors if we're not teaching the truth and our people are not being properly educated. So that should be the main goal. Then you can do what you want. Then you can it's yours. It's yours, the master. After that,
Mm-hmm.
you know that you're not a bondage to this. You're not a bondage. You're not in bondage to that. Just like you see right here in back of me, you see cult free. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? Be free from the cult. There's a lot of cults out there. There's a lot of things out there. And my message is live cult free. Don't be in bondage to what they throwing at you, man. Have a free mind. You know what I mean? I had this one lyric where I said I possess the capacity to spit hot lyric frequency. With the naked eye, you can't see. My thought waves, my brain waves, electromagnetic waves, I can go on for days. My rap pays, but I don't dip it in glaze to make it sell. I make the best rock well. You can't tell that I don't write it from a cell. I write it from a free state of mind. I'm not blind. I let my light shine all the time, but when some others rhyme, I can smell swine. For real. So just chill. Feel the master feel. You know what I'm saying? They cooking up that swine, man.
Yeah.
They cooking up that swine. It's like, man, write it from a free state of mind. Don't write it as an enslaved man. Don't write it as an in bondage man. Write it from a free state of mind. You know what I'm saying? Be free. Live code free. We live a culture of freedom. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? We knew who we were before we know that we was robbed of our name, our religion, our culture, our God, you know, everything that we love, everything that made us who we were. You know what I'm saying? But now, we was lost, but now we're found, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and it's like, man, be free, get free. Receive the gift of freedom. Receive it. Receive that knowledge, man. Don't reject it. Receive the wisdom from the elders. Don't hate it. Receive it, man. Embrace it. Embrace getting old. Embrace gray beard. Embrace it. Embrace it because it's a beautiful thing. Embrace long life. Embrace longevity. Don't feel like you got to go out in the blaze of fire. You got to burn out like a flame. Live your life, man. Have children. Know what it feels like to raise them. Know what it feels like to have grandkids. Know what it feels like to give back into your community, man. You know what I'm saying? It ain't gonna be perfect. We all make mistakes. You make mistakes, but know what it's like to redeem yourself, to be redeemed. Know how to get back. Know how to say, you know what, I need to pump the brakes. Learn how to apologize when you're in the wrong.
That's
right.
You
know what I'm saying? It frees you up, man. Sometimes a simple, yo, brother, my bad, man. That wasn't my intent, man. I hope you have a great day. You know what, my man, you know what? It's all right, man. You know what? It's bigger things than that, man. Let the ego, man, kill that ego.
You're saying that, and it's amazing. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine a few days ago, and I was saying one of the things seems like it's the hardest for us in the Black community is to let go and to say I'm sorry to the other one. Like, and we carry this stuff around for decades, and you notice how we're always, if you bring up a white person, we'll say not all white people are bad, and we'll give them the benefit of the doubt, but then we'll carry a burden of anger and revenge on somebody for 20, 30, 40 years. You won't speak to a person for 15 years over something that was minute that happened. And as you said, we have to learn to be bigger than the problem and offer a solution by letting go.
And that's a skill, man. That's a skill that, sometimes, we would get out there, be a little fist action. We get out there, but a lot of times it end like this. You know what, man? Good one. Good one. There's that mutual respect. The loser, the winner, however you saw it. Hey, man, good one. You live to fight another day. You live to do whatever you was doing. Sometimes you became best of friends. Sometimes you realize, man, it wasn't even worth it. We get out, play some football. Do something like that, man. Do something to get that aggression out, because it says be angry, but sin not. Anger is a natural emotion, man. But we got to learn how to channel that energy. We got to learn how to take that energy and do something productive with it, but if not, like we said, we call it static in the attic. The static will be dynamic. Once you get confused and frustrated, man, it'll take you over. It'll overwhelm you. It'll cause you to act other than self. And what is other than self is a savage.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So you gotta do what, man? We gotta learn to teach those principles that we grew up: integrity, honesty, love. Those things have to be preached louder than all the other messages that we hear nowadays. And that's what I mean by the system, the radio and all those things, man. We need a balance in our community, man. Without balance, we're lost, man. We need to hear other messages other than the same old stuff that we hear every single day. You know what I mean? My ego is, I listen sometimes, I'll be like, wow, man, or they might say, man, you talk like you ain't never been through nothing. You ain't never spent. Yeah, I've been through it. That's why I don't want it. You looking for a place to chill.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? Like, as you mature, you get older, you like, man, listen, peace. If you done been through some stuff, like, I don't know your personal background, your personal story, but I know if you've been through some stuff, hey, man, hey, because you know where that's going. Hey, man, you know where that's going. You know what I mean? Most of the brothers that know me, man, they see me, like older cats, they see me trying to keep myself together and do the right thing. They be like, man, look, keep going. And that's what they got to learn to do with one another. When they see one of their brothers striving, like Tupac said, man, I ain't mad at you. So that song right there was a song about being bigger. You see your brother doing something, you trying hard to maintain, but guess what? I ain't mad at you. You don't come around like used to, but I see what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you in school, you're trying to learn, you're trying to master your art. You're doing this, you're striving to do this and that and that and that. Hey man, listen, I ain't mad at you. You know, show me the way.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
show me how to do better. Each one teach one. That was the attitude. Like, man, I see what you got. You look like you're doing good for yourself, man. Turn me on, put me on to that job. That's what we used to say, man. Where you working at, man? Man, what you doing? You know, we man, come on, man. Don't let me come around here. You know, you had your haters, but for the most part, man, we seen a brother ride by on a fly ride, like, yo, man, where you going? What you doing? What you got? You know, because you're trying to figure out how to get your thing together.
Right, right.
So you can, you know, you ain't trying to figure out how to rob them. You know, like, man, because you know what, you feel more of a man when you know you went out there and you earned it. You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? Like that's the kind of thing that you learn from an uncle, you learn from a father, you learn from a real OG in the community. You know what I mean? Because we had all types. We had the hardworking type we see walk by with the boots on, the lunch pail, doing this, and then we had the other thing. And you know, coming up, we tried a little of everything. You know, I tried it this way, I tried it that way. And then I said, okay, well, what he was telling me was the right thing. Because now I'm caught up, I'm trapped up. You know, so we got to keep that line of communication open as a people, man. You know, we can't be at each other's neck and then think, you know, the enemy beating us on the head at the same time. I mean, you know, we see the problem, but we need to hear more solutions.
Right.
You know what I mean? We need solutions, you know, and I think that's what conscious rap did, because consciousness is all about being aware of what's around you, being aware of what's being said to you, being aware of what's entering your community. You know what I'm saying? Why is all these, you know, liquor stores popping up? Why they closing the library? You know,
Yeah.
just dancing to a tune and you don't realize that the whole environment around you is just changing.
Yeah.
And we believe that environment shapes behavior. You know what I'm saying? If you put a dog, you raise a dog around a bunch of chickens, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He gonna do what the chickens do.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we believe that we got to have an environment that's conducive to our growth and development. You know, we got to change what these, you know, what these folks grow up in, what they're seeing. Just think about it. You know, this generation, they don't know what to do without a cell phone.
Right. Right.
They don't know what to do without their computers. They don't know what to do without these video games. That's why when you try to speak to them, you got to do all this dramatic stuff because to hold their attention, because, you know, it's all this other stuff going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, you know, they don't know, man. Shoot, to be in the house was a punishment to us.
That's right.
We'll be looking out the window. That was our video game. When we looking out the window, we see cars going by, planes going by, kids laughing, running. You know, we like, man, we want to go outside.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm playing dirt. I mean, we played in the dirt. You know, we did all that stuff. Some of us ate dirt. You know, the taste of mud pie or two. You know, we done whipped it up so good. I wonder what it tastes like. But you know, we drunk out of the water holes.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't think about none of that. You know, our immune system was a lot stronger because we went outside more, we played more, and we engaged each other in conversation. We talked more, we interact with one another more. You know, but this whole artificial intelligence, this whole artificial setup got us like, man, we can survive in this world by ourselves. And, you know, we were created to be interactive, you know, and interdependent. We need one another. You know what I'm saying? Rather if we know it or not, you know, but we got to figure out where we all fit into the grand scheme of things. And that's the thing, like the brotherhood that we created as poor righteous teachers, me, Shahi, Wise Intelligent, and even Tony D, being that he was an Italian guy, you know, he fit into the picture. You know what I'm saying? But he didn't control what we said. He wasn't never in there like, y'all need to say this, y'all better say that, or I ain't, you know, his thing was he knew his role was to go lay that track and then sit back and watch what happened. You know what I mean? It's like, I know they gonna do, and who they speaking to and what they speaking about, you don't, that's not your thing, because we was gonna make you build about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, that's how you feel. Okay, how you see that? You know, how you see telling me how to speak to my people?
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How you see that? How is that going to benefit us in the long run? You know, we wasn't afraid to ask those questions. And as far as profile, you know, they just, you know, it was the type of environment where, you know, we came in, they talked to us about what was going on, what they was going to do, interviews, blah, blah, blah. But we never was sat down and told what to say. You know what I mean? I remember like once or twice we said something we had a show in San Francisco, you know, and it was like you can't go do the show. They gonna boycott because in one of your lyrics you said a word that they don't agree with, right? So
I know what you're talking about.
we was like, all right, forget it. You know what I mean? We was like, forget it. We ain't going. We ain't going. You know, it wasn't our people. It was people. You know that heard about it, you know, because we got love from, you know, from the people in the community. And, you know, we got love from people outside of the community.
Right.
Because, you know, truth changed things. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And there's some people that's outside of the black community that understand that. Like, you know, they're tired of being the victim of what their parents might have did or what, you know, somebody else did before they was born. So, you know, they have a heart to, you know, try to get in there and make things better. You know what I'm saying? Even if they don't understand, you know, but the thing of it is you can't cure something if you don't understand what it is. Right. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta study. You gotta study your people. You gotta study your true history. Not Christopher Columbus was a hero. You know what I mean? Understand what he did and his impact on this land and this culture before he got here. Right. Understand what he did. You know, once he got, then you'll understand a little bit more why people don't mess with that and why people don't trust a certain thing. You know, why PE was saying can't trust it. You know, or why poor righteous teachers is saying what they saying. You know, understand it. Get some real knowledge. And some folks was learning like because before the internet, they were being sheltered by their parents. That's why when Bob Marley was saying certain things, it was shocking. Once they got to college, they were able to be free thinkers. I'm no longer under my mother's and father's roof. I'm in college, and it's supposed to be the place where I'm learning. So a lot of young white kids get turned on to Bob Marley. They get turned on to Poor Righteous Teachers, Public Enemy, and all of that once they hit the college level, and they're hearing these names and they're hearing this history that the school books didn't even teach them. So now they're researching and they're finding out saying, whoa, wow, wait a minute. You know, who was King Leopold the Great? I mean, he killed more people than Hitler. Yeah. And, you know, he came from Belgium and went to the Congo and cutting off hands. And in the race for Africa, you mean that all of these European countries raced to see who could conquer what part of Africa first? And then you wonder why 400 years? You know how hard it is to recover from 400 years of oppression, not knowing the average person don't even know who their great-great-grandmother was.
That's right.
So you're talking about 400 years down the line, man, let me tell you something, a financial, you know, disparity, and you think people supposed to bounce back like that with a system like this. You know, you got to think about it.
In a system that continues to oppress.
Exactly.
And continues to hide the truth, because one of the main things which stops progress is the concealing of truth. And if you continue to conceal truth and put this, as you say, on Poor Righteous Teachers, this Walt Disney, this world of make-believe, if you continue to do that, how can you even try to make up for the things that you've done when you continue to enable a system that continues to ravage people of different colors?
Exactly. You can't make it right until you know what you've done wrong. You know, how can you make it right? How can I owe you $200, but I'm giving you 50, and I'm telling you 50 going to do it, and your rent is way bigger than $50, and you like, listen here, man, listen. It's bigger than that. This ain't gonna do it. And they're like, why they ain't gonna do it? Listen, man, you gotta understand what kind of situation you put me in. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do they know how to make it right if they don't know what's wrong.
That's
So
right.
somebody got to say it. Somebody got to say it. You know what I mean? And a lot of times folks try to sugarcoat things and say, well, it wasn't that bad. And we all went through this and that and that and that. And it's like, man, check true history. And then you will see, man, that, y'all didn't just take folks walking down the street, man. Y'all took kings, queens, y'all took master builders, you took architects, you took all these folks, man. You know what I mean? That can cripple somebody's economy. You understand? And like you said, you continue to perpetuate the same type of mindset, like when Kanye came in, talking about diamonds are forever, people knew about what was going on in the diamond mines and all of that, but nobody really was putting it out there. Like they stopped all of that. They stopped that. They stopped that kind of talk, about what Cecil Rose did in the Rose Foundation and all. They stopped all of that. You know what I mean? So now it's like, if it's just you just doing this all day and they're like, all right, cool. How many more of the records could I put out? If I can keep them doing that. But the thing of it is, I'm getting you both ways. I'm getting the lion's share of your recording contract, and then I'm also getting paid on the other end because I'm getting the land and everything on it. Because look, the land is the most valuable thing on this planet because you can't do nothing without it. You can't build a home. You can't have no cattle. You can't grow no food. You can't have no factories. Everything is based on the land. The resources on the land. We understand that we would settle on the best part. You know what I'm saying? We settled on the best part. So if we on the best part, folks thinking like, how can I gain possession of that?
That's right. That's right.
You think about it, man. Think about it. When Michael Jackson started saying stuff like, where your land comes from, where your space is. You know what I'm saying? They thought he was there was a couple messages going on there. You know what I'm saying? See, it's not about races, just spaces, places. You know what I'm saying? Where your blood comes from is where your space is. You're like, okay, what are you saying? Because we talking about God hating black people and perpetuating this ideal that somehow we're cursed people, right? But then all you got to do is just look at, like, if you want to show a child love before they even enter the world, you create a nursery for them.
That's right.
Right? You got the crib in there, you got little animals in there, you got all that environment, because we believe that environment shapes behavior.
That's right.
So you get that nursery ready before you even bring them home and put them in that environment, right? And that shows the love because you prepared for it. You ready for it. Now you look at us as a people, and you want to say that God don't love us. He set us on oil. He set us on gold. He set us on diamonds. He set us on vast vegetation, animals, sunlight, everything that's conducive to the growth and development of a human being. He set us up in the perfect environment to grow and to prosper. You know what I'm saying? As a people. So don't tell me that God don't love us as a people, man. You can't convince me of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
we gotta break that spell. Jim Crow was a spell. Jim Crow was a curse. That's what Jim Crow was. You know what I mean? Because it made us on sight. People might say, I don't understand. Listen, there's no other, like King said, judge us by the content of our character, right? Not by the color of our skin. Why? Because they made it on sight. On sight. Jim Crow made it on sight. Soon as I see you, you ignorant, you this, you that, because there was an all-out assault on our character. An all-out assault on our character. Jigaboo this, that, and that, little mammy dolls, everything you could think of. So it made it a curse. So we have to break the curse instead of perpetuating it. You know what I'm saying? We have to break that curse. We have to break that generational curse that we've been placed under. We got to break it. And my brother Lord Jamal in Brand Nubians, he said a supreme mind would take you out of your paralysis. Grip the mic so hard I get calluses. You know what I'm saying? He was saying that a supreme mind will wake you up. It will break you out of that curse. It will break you out of that state of unawareness. You know what I mean? That's what we trying to do. You know, spark a light, spark something in you that brings your mind out of the darkness. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? Because when you feel like you curse, you feel doomed and gloom. You know what I mean? You feel like you can't do nothing, you can't achieve nothing, you can't be nothing. You know, and it took personalities like Muhammad Ali. When I was coming up, he was a hero to me. He was saying things like, I'm the greatest. You know, what was he saying? It wasn't so much of what he was trying to convince his opponent of. He was building himself up with language like that. You know what I'm saying? He was speaking life into himself. He was speaking into the situation like, I'm the greatest. You know, he was telling Joe Frazier, I'm God. You know what I'm saying? Like, he tried to put that in his head, you know, while he punching him. Like,
Mm-hmm.
listen, you know, I'm unbeatable. You know, it takes it because he understands the power of words and how the words have an effect on your mind subconsciously. Those words get into your subconscious and you begin to act them out. You begin to believe them. So he understood how important words was, man. And when you're on that microphone, understand the power of words and how the words shape environment. You know, if you portray a gangster, you're going to create an environment around you where you got to live like a gangster. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to have to live like that. You're going to have to live it. You're going to have to, you know, protect yourself at all times, be like this. And it's like, how can you live free like that? That means you in fear. You in constant fear. Gangsters, mobsters back in the day, they was in constant fear of losing their life. They would always sit facing the door because they never knew when their enemy was going to come up and get them. They had to frisk everybody down and do all this. Why? Because they knew that they created a legend and an aura that no man can live up to, man. No man can live in peace. You know, Muhammad Ali said, I could walk down the street with my brothers and sisters and hug my brothers and sisters and come out. I don't have to live in fear because he knew you got to be an ignorant man to kill me. I love my people. You got to be sick. You got to be sick to do that. You can't nobody in their right mind would want to hurt somebody, man, who love their people like that. You know what I'm saying? Who's fighting for you? Who's fighting for your rights? Who's fighting for your, you know, the justice of our people? You know, so you know this the type of words we gotta speak, man. Like, you know, I love my brother. It's hard to say, man, I'm gonna go kill that brother over there. You see my brother right there. I'm gonna go hurt that brother. We gotta say, oh man, that in that this that man, he a slob, he this, he that. You know, we got in our mind, we gotta create that image of that person that they're worth nothing. You know what I'm saying? It's a thing to where, because I put it like this: when somebody about to hurt somebody, one of the first things they say when that person start talking, they say, "Man, I don't want to hear it."
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why they say I don't want to hear it because they don't want to hear anything that might stop them and cause them to think anything other than what they think and what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hear it. You know, with the kids, I don't want to hear it. Mom, I love it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Right? Because man, that consciously to do that, you got to think of that person as next to nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or you got to feel like they think you're next to nothing. And that's hurtful for a person to think that you're not anything, you're not value, you're not worth anything. You know what I'm saying? So you
So,
say, ask my brother, what is he saying? He's telling black kids to get a good education. He's telling black kids to learn the knowledge of themselves so they can love themselves. Right? What are you saying? That's the question, man. You interview a brother. What are you saying?
mm-hmm.
What's the message? You know, we had shows like Team Summit when Bob Johnson owned BET. That was one of the most valuable resources that we had because we were able to control our image. You know, how people perceived us. This is our art. This is our music. This is how we educate. These are our black universities. This is what we're about. This is the news according to how we see it, not the news according to how somebody else see it.
Mm-hmm.
And we was able to do that. We go on there and do an interview, and the young people on Team Summit, they was able to ask the rappers questions. What are you saying? What's your message? What are you doing to help other black people? What are you? What's your goal? What's your end goal? How you grow up? Did your parents love you?
Hmm.
You know, they was able to ask those questions, and it made you think. When you was on your way there, what am I going to say to these young people? What can I say to them? You know, and that's the thing, man. What are you saying? Where's this going?
So
I'm saying, go ahead. I'm sorry.
so in this environment right here, because I was just looking at this beef that's taking place down in Dallas, Texas, since the killing of
Mm-hmm.
this rapper Mo 3.
Mm-hmm.
He was a very talented brother. I was listening to him.
Mm-hmm.
With this environment like this, what is your view and your take on that situation? Because it's just a microcosm of different areas around the country concerning us.
And see, this is the thing, and I'm glad you put it in that terminology. You know what I'm saying? In general, in a microcosm, right? Because in order to speak to that situation specifically, I would have to know the inner workings of what's going on, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'll just speak to us as a people and why we doing what we do, man. And it's just, man, it's the ego, man. It's the ego, man. Why we can't let each other live, man. What is it that's eating at us so bad that we now become our own worst enemy? That's the question. And what it is that, and people say, and when I say this, right, folks gonna be like, man, that's a weak excuse. But I'm telling you, why do we constantly put out things in the media and on radio where we're the bad guy? We're the bad guy. We're always the bad guy. You're the guy. You're the guy. Like I said before, we know who P. Diddy is. We know who 50 Cent is when we see him. But do we see the people behind the puppet master? Do we see who pulling the strings? Because we're constantly portrayed as the bad guy. There's other communities that will be on your heels if they were portrayed in the media and in movies and on the radio the way that we're being portrayed, because they understand the cause and effect behind that. They understand what kind of effect that's going to cause. They understand that that's going to cause contention in the neighborhoods. They understand that that's going to cause division in the neighborhood. They understand that if I keep telling you and I keep saying that and I'm not talking about them in general. I'm just saying as a whole. If I keep telling you, man, you look, man, I got your baby mama at my house and she turning tricks. I'm doing this. I can buy you. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Y'all ends ain't got nothing on. And this is all of our conversation. When we see each other, what do we think about one another?
Mm-hmm.
See, when I listened to Chuck D, I felt like when I met him, I could hug him.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? I felt like when I met him, I could give him a strong shake. You see what I'm saying? I felt like, man, you know what? Hey, I felt like I could protect his life. You see what I'm saying? That's the impact that your music have on people. That's the impact that when you put those kind of images out there, that's what you see. But I feel like the imagery right now is so strong on hating one another. And the word talks about the lust of the flesh, right? It talks about the different things of the adultery, envy, strife, all of these things that's in the flesh, because it says in the flesh dwells no good thing, right? So when you walking in the flesh and you putting all those things out there, that's the environment that you create by using all of those words and by saying all of these things and constantly putting this energy out there. That creates that environment. You're creating an environment that nobody can live in. I can't exist in there with everybody hating on me. I can't exist in it. I can't go out and enjoy myself if I done made everybody hate me. I can't. We can't. How can we come together in unity and peace after I done shouted out everything negative that I can? If I talk about what I'm gonna do to your baby mama and all that, now we hanging out. Can you trust me around your wife? Can you trust me? Can you trust me? You know your wife. You might say, I trust my wife, but I don't trust you.
Mm-hmm.
But can you trust me in those situations if all I'm talking about is harming you and taking something from you? And when I catch you slipping, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna rob you. I'm gonna run up in your house. Now I feel like, man, okay, you match the description. You fit the description of what's being said. If when I used to, like I said, when I saw the brothers in the community dressed up with the bean pie, this, that, and that, I know what they was on. I know what they was there to do. I know why they was in the community. You know, wasn't no fear. You know, wasn't that kind of fear? It's like, hey, brother, that's the first thing they gonna greet you with. Hey, brother.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And different things like that. So we gotta say, man, we gotta stop creating an environment that we can't live in, man. We can't live in it with all that ego, man. We can't live there. What you gotta say, man? How you feel about things? We can't, we just can't, man. And you know, through poor righteous teachers and through groups like that, man. One of the things I believe X Clan said, and Brother Jay said this. He said, "One man is not a nation. Brother builds a clan. Something in the circle creates the better man." Right? Through this unity, through this red, black, and green, through this, we create better people. We create through our bond and our unity, through creating this circle of love and this brotherhood that we have, we create better men. And I believe the same is true like for the Nation of Islam and other organizations like that, man. It's about creating better men. Better, you know, changing the image and the outlook of how we look in the community. Hey, brother, put on a suit. Do this, do that. Speak to your people in a better man in the community. Educate yourself, you know, and those type of things. And it's going to create a better environment if we do that. You know, I don't know if Cosby did this or that or whatever, but I know when his shows were on the air and things was going on, people wanted, young black people was going to college. They wanted to know, they seen a black doctor. They seen a lawyer. They seen all these images. They seen kids who got in trouble, but then the parents stepped in and helped steer them back right.
Mm-hmm.
We saw these images, man. And, you know, one thing, if you surround somebody with four corners of negativity all day, eventually is going to break them down to where you can infiltrate them. And that's a trick of the enemy. You know, like, put it like this. If you ever seen the movie Golden Child, in order to take the Golden Child, they had him surrounded by energy. They had him in that pentagram. They had him in that circle, right? With that pentagram, right? And they had him sitting in the middle of it. But then they had him surrounded with four corners on each side. But they needed him to eat blood. They tried to put blood in his oatmeal. Now, once he would have ate that blood and ate that oatmeal, then they would have been able to kill him because he would have been impure. So that's why we didn't eat swine and all that other stuff, because we knew the effects that swine had on you, right? Because it mess your mind up, make you more vulnerable. So if I surround you with evil all the time, you know, because we believe that the average person learn by means of their sense realm. What is that? Things that they see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. So that's how we gain knowledge and how we take in knowledge, right? Unless you're a spiritual individual, right? But if you're not, when you're what we call an 85er, you know, it's a slave of mental death and power. You're taking everything in, everything you taste. If you eating swine, if you watching swine, if you listening to swine, what's going to happen?
Right.
Eventually, you're lost, and you're anything. As soon as I put something out there, you're going to react to it. Why? Because that's the power of hypnosis. That's the power of trick knowledge, because I planted those thoughts in your head. When I had your attention and when I had you dropping to the beat and you listening to the beat and you was caught up in the hypnotic rhythm, did I give you knowledge, or did I put something else there? Then once you come out of that, now those seeds of thought, those seeds are planted. So when you in that situation, the first thing you think is kill. This is what I do in this situation. I fight, I kill, I don't, those conflict resolution, none of that. I don't try to talk to my brother. I don't try to solve we solve the conflict like this, because those thoughts have already been planted in your head. I'm going to shoot, I'll murder, I'll do this, I'll do that. And while you rocking and you nodding and you going like that, and now your conscious mind is lulled to sleep. And now thoughts are being planted into your subconscious mind. And that's what we act from. We act on an everyday basis through our subconscious. These are things we do without even thinking about it. So music helps to relax you and put you in a state to where now you just receiving. You just receiving information. What are you receiving? See, what are we feeding ourselves? What are we doing? You know what I'm saying? Like when before we even eat, we pray. Before we take in food, we pray, because we know what? The effects that this food can have on us. We pray that it is pure. We pray that the Most High cleanse anything that was intentionally put in here or unintentionally put in here that can cause us to act other than self, that it be removed in the spirit, that it won't have that effect on us. Do we do that? Are we that conscious when we pop that CD in?
No, they're not.
Are we that conscious when we turn that television? Because there's a lot of things being fed to us now on that TV, man.
Yeah.
Yes, and it might not manifest itself tomorrow or the next year, but these kids who growing up seeing this, thinking that is normal, we got to make it unnatural to be out here killing each other like that. It has to become unnormal. It has to be, folks have to be shocked by it, not, desensitized. When we see that, we have to, what is going on? That has to be the question. Like, that has to be our response, not just, you know how they do. They tripping out there.
Well,
no.
Do you think that on that note right there, as you're talking, do you think that it was purposely put in the way that you're saying? And at the same time, I noticed as the music started to gravitate more towards gangsterism, they intentionally pushed people like YZ and Poor Righteous Teachers and King's Son and X-Clan and Gang Starr just out the way.
Man, listen. It was making money, just like Jim Kelly said. Jim Kelly said this. Jim Kelly said, me and Jim Brown and Fred Williamson was the first black action heroes. So we was the first black action heroes. He said they would spend like $30,000 on a movie and make like 10 million or something like that. He said, so why would you stop something that's that profitable? He said he believed it was intentional. He said they gave these other guys a shot. Man, Jim Kelly had one of the cleanest images that you can have. I mean, he went to college, he played football, he left college, did his thing, was a kung fu master. He was actually he was a champ. He was the middleweight champion in kung fu before he even got in acting. Listen, man, I see footage of Jim Kelly in real fights. Some of these guys who became action stars, I don't see no footage. That's one of the. This is how I prove how powerful that Hollywood is to people. And people shout me down. They want to argue with me all the time and all that. They'll say, if you was in a bar fight, right, and you had Mike Tyson, Bruce Lee, and I believe it was one other individual that they had. They was like, who would you choose to be down with you? I said, Mike Tyson. And they're like, what? Bruce Lee. I said, man, show me footage of Bruce Lee in a fight. I ain't talking about Hollywood. I know that he was a master at martial arts and all that. Listen, it was a young lady in my daughter's karate class, man. She was so sweet. I mean, she had all the moves. Like, she mastered these drills and she knew all these different techniques. But then when they would separate them and make them fight, there's something that come out of you in a real fight that it's not just a drill. It's not, I'm going to hit you, I'm going to catch your arm and bing, 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 and then I'm going to turn you and then you. No. I've seen Muhammad Ali take punches, real punches. I seen him withstand real blows, get knocked down, get back up. I've seen Mike Tyson do the same thing. I can't put my money on somebody I never seen in a real situation because listen, you can have a glass jaw for all I know. I'm talking about real life fighting. But Hollywood has fed us something so deep and so strong that you can't tell it. They will argue you down on that. And I just be like, show me one fight. I give you all day to be on the internet. Show me one fight. But I have seen Mike Tyson put people to sleep. You know what I'm saying? And hey, my thing is that's how powerful Hollywood is because it fed us the perception that this individual is individual. No one can whoop this guy.
Mm-hmm.
But if I look at MMA and mixed martial arts, I see that as brothers running that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now you got these guys, they mastered all these techniques, but on every weight class, I see brothers in there I'm betting on a brother. I got to bet on what I know, what I seen, I've seen Muhammad Ali. Like I seen a comic book and it had Superman and it had Muhammad Ali on it. And it was like Superman versus Muhammad Ali. And I said to myself, only one of these guys are a real superhero. Only one of them. And we know who that is. It's Muhammad Ali. This guy was created in Hollywood. This guy is a real guy. This guy done beat this person, somebody who trained all their life to fight. Somebody who trained for months to get in there and do their thing. And he went in there and disposed of them. I got to go with the person I know that did the real. I've seen him. No disrespect because Bruce Lee grew up as a hero of mine. I love Bruce Lee. Mad respect. I walked around with the karate shoes and all. I'm saying that once I became a man and I learned to look at and I could say, this guy's going to work. He's a breadwinner. He's coming home. He's feeding his family. He's doing these things. I got to have some respect for the man that's actually doing the work. I can't buy into that perception that I'm being fed by the media. This guy, we've seen it. We've seen it. We got proof. We got evidence. I don't go against the original man like that, man. I know what kind of men we are. I know we can be better. I know we can do better. I know there has to be outside interference in order for us to do those kind of things to each other, man. Knowing that what we come from, knowing how hard it is for us to get a break, knowing how hard it is for us to come up in this country and become millionaires and live like these young folks are living, man. They're making more money than a lot of the rappers during my generation. You know what I'm saying? Way more money than a lot of what we was doing was just for the love of the culture. You know what I mean? And we were able to get by and pay our bills, but not like these young guys, the kind of money. So what would make these young folks not care about themselves or go and put themselves in situations like that when they're supposed to be having the time of their life, man? I made it. I made it out. Now I can help my family. I can help my mother. I can help my mother move out. I can, help build businesses in my community. I think that kind of talk need to become the popular talk. That kind of talk need to become the trend. That how many businesses are you able to build in your community? How many people can you help? Those are the things that we need to honor, man. And like I said, man, when I was coming up, I got in trouble as a young man, but it wasn't until I had to look deep down in myself and say, I'm not being the man that I'm supposed to be. I'm not being the protector and the provider in the community that I'm supposed to be, that I need to be. Once you have knowledge of yourself, you have knowledge of God, you realize that, man, you have a bigger responsibility than just selfish ambition. You know what I mean? And if those things became popular again, if knowledge of self and being smart and love of God and love of community and all of those things became popular again, I believe we'll see a drastic change in the community. I believe, because won't nobody have time to argue and bicker and beef. about all those things because they'll be too busy trying to build the community, man. You know what I'm saying? It's plenty that we can do. You know, realizing you can't spend all that money. You can't, you know, that you can't take that money with you. Put that money to work for you in a community where you can see that, hey man, I helped build a school and that school bears my name and that's going to outlast me. That's going to be around for you know, decades. A lot of people are going to get an education because I chose to do the right thing. A lot of people are going to be, you know, have better lives because you chose to do the right thing. You know what I mean? And we can't keep killing each other off, man. That's not the solution. That never was the solution. That's not going to do anything, man. Because they're getting 2 for 1. You know, every time we do that, they're getting 2 for 1. You know, we got to do better, man. And I don't want to sound like I'm kicking some I got a dream speech, but I'm telling you what the reality is. We can't move forward. We can't build without that, man. Come talk to me, man. Come talk to Uncle Coach, man. Come talk to me, man. I'm gonna kick the real to you, man. I don't want nothing from you. I don't want nothing from you but to see you prosper. You know, I want to see you prosper as well as your soul prosper. I want to see you prosper because guess what? When your soul right, man, it don't matter if you got $1 million in the bank or not. You know, once you know who you are, you know, you can do everything, man. You know, come talk. Don't listen to these guys, man, who's selling you death because ain't nothing there, man. You know, breathe. Like my man said, he said, breathe. He said, God, man was the only thing that God formed with his hands. And then it says he blew his breath into him and man became a living soul. The breath of God, man, you know, is a valuable thing, man. We got to do better, man. I know it's been said over and over again, but we got to do better, man. Love your brother. Treat him as an equal. In the words of Heavy D, he said, love your brother. Treat him as an equal. They call us animals. Nah, I don't agree with them. I prove them wrong. But right is what you're proving them. He said, man, love your brother. That's not impossible to do.
And in closing, and we got to thank you for coming on the show, man. I'm telling you, I'm one of the biggest Poor Righteous Teachers fans out there. And besides that, I got to put a plug in for the album again. Listen, I think it was a slept on album, even though it did good. I think Pure Poverty is one of the most underrated hip hop albums of all time. I invite everybody to go check that album out, Pure Poverty. But in closing, what do you have to say to the people in closing?
Man, I just want to say, listen, keep striving to do your best. You know what I'm saying? Educate yourself. And you know what I mean? Love life, man. Love life. We only here for a short time. You know, enjoy your life, man. Don't let nobody lead you down the wrong path. Don't let nobody sell you on death. You know, it's life over death. It's freedom over jail. It's heaven over hell. We got to prevail. God got to live well in this modern day Babylon where the game is on. You got to be wise or else you'll be gone. All right. Peace, man. Love, respect. Once again, my brother, thanks for having me on. Thanks for being patient. And, you know, man, hey, man, I appreciate it.
Hey, man, I appreciate and I'm very grateful to you. And you can use this platform whenever you need to come on and tell the people whatever you need to tell them, man. I appreciate it. And I feel like you brothers are part of my family because I grew up with you.
Yeah, man, most definitely. And, you know, I just want to say, man, I'm just praying for peace for the brothers out there in Texas, man, and everybody that's been affected by that whole situation. You know, not just for the brother who lost his life, but, you know, for the people who took it. You know what I mean? We all need prayer, man. We got to find a better way. You know, we got to find a better way. It got to be better than that, man. You know, we got to do better than that. All right, man. Love y'all. Peace.
I love you too. Peace, God.
Yeah, man. Peace.